Would everyone please join me to start off the Cable Advisory Board meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I hope everybody has spent the last month and a half reading the minutes that Sharon got out so quickly, because I'm asking for any additions or corrections to the minutes of November 9th, which seems like a long time ago. But we did accomplish some good things. So is there any additions?
Steve.
Good evening. Welcome. You need a... I just reminded everyone that they probably have read the minutes more than once since our November meeting, so if anyone has any additions or corrections, speak now. If not, can I have a motion to...
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting.
Second?
The last meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Great. Okay. So tonight, we're going to catch up on processes that have been going on since we last met. And John, why don't we start with your report?
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about the encoders. When I wrote my monthly report yesterday, I was really gonna have a lot of complaints, but I woke up this morning to an email from overnight from Spectrum, and they said they are ready to accept me sending them signals on all three encoders, so I did that this morning. So currently at the new high school building, where the new head end is going to be, I have signal going out to all three encoder, and they're testing it for 72 hours. Now, I did this 2 months ago, and I kept asking them, are we good, and I hadn't heard anything back, so apparently that it wasn't good back then. So it's a ray of good light on that, so hopefully.
What difference is this going to make for you and for people who are concerned about it?
Well, it's going to make a couple of differences. The head end will be in the building where my office is, but it'll also allow us to buy the new server and really push ahead with our department. And
what will that do? Just sort of expound a little on why this has been important and you've stayed with it for so long.
well, our encoders now are the ones, our server now and encoders are approaching 10 years old. So in technology, you want to improve things such as that depending on what it is, but like a server, you want it every 10 years or so. So we're getting a newer state-of-the-art server that runs off the IP network, so it's easier for Valerie and I to log in from anywhere quickly, make changes. And it's big with live programming because currently, if we're doing the selectmen meeting and it ends, there's going to be a little gap before Valerie can force on another show. She's got to go to her laptop, go to one site, program at that. So it takes a couple of minutes. This thing, as soon as it's done, boom, it goes to it's something she can have ready to go right away. So there's and people can, instead of waiting to watch the selectmen or any meeting until the next day when it's up or posted somewhere, they can watch it immediately. They can catch up. If they join a meeting at 8 o'clock, they can start watching from the beginning, so.
I think we should do a how-to some night at our upcoming meeting, just do a little demo for people to see
Let's
how
get it
that-
first, and then,
Yeah.
once I learn it more.
Because we
but-
got to learn it, yeah.
Making it so available and encouraging people, especially in the winter months, to really take advantage of seeing what's going on in town government.
Yeah, but I don't think we're gonna have it until the springtime, because once I get the go-ahead from Spectrum that it's okay, they're getting signal, we're good to do the switch over from the old school, then I'll place my order for the server, and that could take up to a month. They have them, but it's just the scheduling and all the getting it in, having the guy come in and do the install.
not gonna
So
wait
we're
a
gonna have to
year
spring.
like we did.
Well, we have to do it before June 30th.
Yeah.
It's gotta be bought before then, so,
Okay.
yep. So that's the encoder update.
I think you were working on
Oh,
a
I-
budget. You said you had the final figures for us tonight?
Yeah, Jim Hartnett and I met maybe a few weeks before the holidays, and we just went over like a preliminary thing. And I did ask him, could we add to staff like more than just a contract laborer? And he said he would look at it, but it would have to be the number of hours before, it'd have to be less than the number of hours before they had to stop paying benefits.
Okay.
So it wasn't a no, he was gonna,
I'm glad you're exploring that. I
Yeah.
think that was important to everyone here, that he look at that.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention, I don't know if anyone watches basketball, but I have a 10th grader who has been announcing the basketball games. We're live streaming the boys and girls games, and he's been announcing it. He's done a couple with his younger brother, and on Friday night, we had the vice principal, who's a former, maybe current basketball coach. He also helped him announce it, so
Super.
it's pretty popular. The kid, he wants to be an announcer, so
I think that's another conversation we could have sometime about students that are working with you
Yeah.
under cable and you did that in that little intro video you did when we had an open meeting last
Yep.
year. A young woman that really wasn't interested in school and then said,
Yep.
but I found my future and this is what it's all about. I think it'd be
Yep.
important for the public to hear that the students are really connecting
I
very
know
directly.
at one of the games, Shorelines guy came up to me and he asked, about the pro, and says, let's do a story on you. And we shared email address. I haven't heard from him yet, but he was very impressed by the students up there, so.
Any other questions for John? Okay, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Valerie?
Yes, to add to John's about the new equipment, it accepts all files. There's so many different file formats that people send, and so it'll streamline the workflow. It'll cut out that conversion step and everything, so that all 3 channels, it'll accept any kind of file. I started working on, it was suggested to do like a little studio tour. So I shot a little bit in here showing the room, and I'm gonna do it for the town hall, and then I'll do a little intro for that. So that's working. This past Monday, because no meetings were held during the holidays, it seemed this Monday was, we had 4 meetings. 2 of them were at the same time. So we're trying to see if there's been some audio issues with 190 and 191. I've been working with John on that, and we've been going back and forth. I raised the volume on the board, because the television in there, I have to put up to 100. I don't know when other people watch it, I don't know if it's that TV or if you people have to go way up high to hear it, but, because I don't really get any reports.
The YouTube connection is really easy, although I went to look at a school.
No, I'm talking about on television,
Yeah.
Yeah, I watch one of the meetings, and the volume is a little low, especially if you go to other channels.
Yes,
So, and that's what is a good
to the
comparison.
adjacent channels,
The
yeah.
adjacent channels, it is a little low. so-
92 seems okay, but that's on a different, the server. See, 90 and 91 are on the EHD2. So you had a low on the school committee, and then your basketball and the concert was way overblown, so,
So I bought a new, when we were off, sorry to interrupt.
yeah.
When we were offline, I sent you all a message maybe a month ago, and I had to change a converter, and I got a new one. It came in, and I matched up the dipsticks on the one I previously did. But I think ever since then is when we're starting to get some issues.
That
So
might be some of the, yeah.
might be returning that.
Yeah. We've talked about in trying to troubleshoot the audio problems and looking at the channels. We've been trying to see about getting a cable drop to the school. Evidently, that was overlooked when the school was built, and I guess John is having problems talking to them or whatever. But there's no way to monitor channels at the school right now. So that will have to be resolved somehow. And that handshake thing that I was using to try to get some recruits from UMass Dartmouth, that was the only school I signed up with now. How it works is they send me the computer, whatever sends matches, and I can contact them and ask them to apply, each individual, and they have to apply to get anything, and I haven't got any applications or any contacts, so that's kind of, that process of getting people is kind of up in the air right now.
Have you been able to talk to Bristol Community College?
No, I haven't.
I think that could be
Yeah.
a really good source, at least somehow over there.
Other than talking to Keith Tebow, I haven't gone to like the job center up there or anything.
Keith asks me sometimes, do I know of anybody? So he's in the same boat.
Yeah.
I think we want to encourage you to keep doing it. I think the reality of not having backup is our concern. And anybody has suggestions or ideas to share with Valerie, encourage her to keep looking for more support, because there's only so many hours in the day and so many. We want to keep the programming at top level.
And I've been doing a recap at the end of the selectmen meetings. It's about a minute to a minute and a half.
Great.
If any of you have seen that. I check on Vimeo, people are watching it.
That's a
Get
good
few-
reminder tonight with our meeting, because we're being recorded, that there is a recap at the end of the meeting, so if somehow you came in late.
Well, not all meetings, just selectmen right now.
Sorry. I was giving you more to do.
We're
than
giving
anything,
giving that a trial, what do they say, send up the trial balloon and see how that goes.
yeah. Okay, any questions?
Yeah,
Go.
so you mentioned Vimeo. Are you still using Vimeo or YouTube?
No.
YouTube now?
Just YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried the YouTube to see what was happening with the school committee, and it just said, starting soon, and after a few minutes, so I don't know what that was all
So I
about.
what I do is at 6:28, I'll put up, or thereabouts, I put up starting coming up. So if someone's tuning in, they know it's about to begin.
Oh, okay.
Instead of, because I don't get no notice. I don't want to hear the gavel, then I'm pressing buttons to start, so.
So I was
Just-
ahead of myself. I was turning it on.
Yeah, they don't always start right on time, so it might have gone over a
Okay.
couple of minutes or two, but
I thought it
Yeah,
was a
no, that's
recording that
intentional.
had been made.
that's intentional.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, if it's on YouTube, you could trim it if you wanted to.
Yeah, and if it's on YouTube, you can just scrub to the beginning.
Good. Well, thank you both. And it's good to hear what you're doing, and we expect you to be doing a lot more, right? We're all in agreement of that, right? We have, we submitted a report to the select board, requested by the state of what we were doing. The state was sort of ringing a bell and saying, you have a renewal contract coming up, have you been paying attention? And we were very fortunate that our board has been doing all its homework and had already made a report to the select board. So it was very easy to say yes. And that was a great first step. And the next step, and Renee's been working on this, is to pull together a meeting with lawyer Hewig, who has a lot of experience. And Renee, with that, would you give us an update?
So, yeah, after our presentation to the Select Board, went very favorably in terms of us moving forward with the renegotiations. Irene and I and Jim reached out to Attorney Ewig from KP Law, and basically Jim requested that we have a proposal drawn up by Attorney Ewig that we can present to the Select Board, and just so we know exactly what we're getting into in terms of the renegotiations. And Attorney Ewig responded that because of our due diligence and the work of this board, we've done some really good work in terms of reducing the amount of time that the attorneys will have to spend on this. I actually did print this out I did send it email-wise, so I don't know if you guys actually got it, but I did print it out as well. And it's pretty much a breakdown of the scope of work that Attorney Ewig will be prepared to take on. as he says, that we've done a lot of the legwork in terms of preparation. I think this board is pretty much aware of what we need to look for in terms of going through the current license and our potential wish lists. And I think once we meet with Attorney Ewig, we can, sit down as a board and decide, exactly what's doable and what's askable. So I think,
Or at least discuss his perspective.
absolutely.
You know.
I mean, as he stated, there will be things that, we probably won't be able to get in terms of our requests, but you don't ask, you don't receive. So I think, this proposal from him, and he's done this numerous times before. As I said, he worked on Fall River in New Bedford, and basically is the cable attorney for New England, for a lot of New England towns.
Jim went ahead and agreed to have him provide these services, and there is a list of what he's doing at the end of this email, which I can, if you don't have a single count, but we were trying to set up a time, and we thought it maybe would be best to just a representative group with Shauna representing the school, the select board. Steve, if you would like to join this. But I asked him to put it off for a couple of weeks, like the end of January at least, because I think the lawyer had some room available tomorrow, which I think was a little soon to do this. But I would guess it's like a half an hour Zoom meeting to find out where he has some concerns, because it's called Prepare Draft Renewal License. And maybe go over some of these other points that he would have. So it's not going to be a meeting about where we would have disagreement. It's sort of the first meeting to say, how are we going to be working on it together? If you all feel like you would like to attend the Zoom meeting, I think we can work that out. But at this point, I know Renee has been following us very closely. If anybody else would like to attend, let me know, and we'll be looking for a date beginning that last week of January. And maybe what would you guess, a half an hour Zoom meeting?
Sure,
Max?
sure. At least initially, kind of almost as an orientation, I think he'll provide us with. If you look at the breakdown of the hours, you can see that, in C, and participate in negotiations with Charter and the assistance of the Cable Advisory Board, that's 25 hours roughly. I think that's going to be a lot of back and forth from what I've experienced in the past. We say, we want this, and he'll propose it, come back and say, well, we can't do that, but we can do this, or whatever. So there'll be that give and take.
At the first meeting, probably just an overview, or
Correct.
Not an in-depth, and then maybe a follow-up meeting a little later.
Yeah.
They know that we have until June, and our hope would be that somewhere around April, since we've submitted the document, and Steve, you've been through this before, but if we've got it worked out and he begins to say, don't go this far, don't ask that much.
Oh, you did it last time too, so he's familiar with it.
Yeah.
They'll go over the basis, what he thinks we cannot. Last time, the biggest thing we were fighting over was somebody wanted the golf channel. Which, I don't know what the point can be, but we were looking for some channels that people wanted at the time. At the time, we didn't have Fox News, so I think we got that, but they didn't push the golf channel. And some residents wanted that. So otherwise than that, everything else was pretty much going through that we wanted.
Okay.
So
And
this
we've
time,
had-
we're squeaking it up a little, so I don't know, we're gonna
Yeah.
get the feedback.
Yeah, so I will ask you, if you're interested in participating in the Zoom meeting, to contact Renee. Just send him an email, and then as soon as we agree upon a date that works for us and works for the attorney, so that there can be a beginning overview, how we're gonna make this happen, conversation, we can get the date set and everybody on board. And then I would assume that he will say, I'm going to meet again and come back to you with my recommendations. I wouldn't think the first meeting would be him editing the report, but getting involved with the town, so.
Yeah.
So let Renee know, I'll let you keep that list of who else, if anybody.
Sure.
And we will have a report in our February meeting of
Yeah.
what happened.
I think, initially just being able to coordinate everybody's schedules, because I don't know if the attorney works beyond 5 o'clock, but, we have to coordinate Shauna and Jim and our schedules.
If we
So,
decide who on our group feels they really need to be part of that first meeting, clearly you, I would join it as chair. Steve, if you want to, let us know. If not,
Touch base with Jim Hartnett first,
Okay.
because he hasn't been through this before. He might want to attend just to see how it's going.
okay. And then, and I agree, because the first suggestion was a 10 o'clock meeting, and I thought, well, that would be all by yourself, because most people aren't going to be available.
Right.
So, but if we know what we want to do, let's communicate with Jim, and you can
Yeah.
have me do that. But if you want to be part, let Renee know, and then we'll talk to Jim, and we will get at least 4 o'clock. I mean, it's got to be later in the day
Make it a
for
little bit
people to be
easier.
able to do it.
Sure.
Okay. All right, that's a really important part. The next important part, I think, is that we did receive a letter from John Mayer, I think, M-A-H-E-R, way back last year sometime, saying, there's a renewal coming, folks. I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you. And it was clearly something we'd asked for, I think, at least once before. So our decision is, what's the best time? I would assume that we would be smart to wait until we have this first conversation with the lawyer. But I think then it would be important for us to have a meeting, and whether or not we want to broadcast that meeting, which has some advantages, but we would have to prepare if we're going to invite the corporate representative to talk with us. Because there's a lot of people that are unhappy about the cost, or unhappy about the channel, and so on and so forth. And, I think he can come and listen to it, but I don't think it's the best use of promoting this renewal process. But your thoughts on that? Because we do have the opportunity, I do have a letter in here from him saying, I'm happy to come and talk to you. I think it's like a month ago or a little bit before that. What's your thoughts on how we should plan for that? Renee, have you done that in Fall River? Have you brought him in to talk?
Not during the renegotiation stage. That pretty much the attorneys usually go back and forth, and I would imagine Attorney Ewig will be in contact with Mr. Mayer from Spectrum, from Charter. And, they have made appearances in the town. They,
I think his
have showed
PR
up.
On this point, I think he clearly
Absolutely.
understands it's to his best interest to offer to talk with us, so.
Yeah, they are often invited to meetings to respond to complaints and things like that. It's, whether or not they're going to respond or not, but,
Last time was about 3 years ago, right?
Yeah,
Steve?
Tom
Yeah, that was
would
the-
respond to us.
She was the,
The one before her, Tom.
yeah,
He came here and he got back to us fairly quick, and then it went downhill from there.
yeah.
Yeah.
We had that
Yeah.
woman come in, I think she was
She
the,
came like once, yeah.
she came back once, and she only lasted 6 months at Charter.
yeah. I mean, they tend to know that when they show up at a public meeting, it's, they're fair game for anything, so,
But we do have obligations, according to that long list of responsibilities, to do this, to make sure the public knows it's going on. And clearly, the customers are paying for the service, so they have a right. We did have someone, I think, at our last meeting come in and hope to be able to make some complaints. We need to structure what we do in a way that isn't just about complaints, it's about the service. And that was at the core of the proposal that was put together, I think, that you really stated it so well. This service is available to town as a real bonus to our ability as a town to communicate. And I'm not sure how we can say that to Charter. If you come, you're gonna hear the good and the bad. So I think it's worthwhile, but I do think you don't just open the doors and let everybody walk
Something
in.
Charles is doing, like I mentioned a couple of meetings ago, I had 2 emails from him. One said, you need an upgrade on your service. And it was wasn't the 800, it was a special number to call.
Right.
Call that, they sent a technician, he was at my house for 3 hours. He replaced all the connectors, the cables, he ran a new cable from the pole to the house. And he said, I need a new modem. A couple of days, I got another email from Charles. We will replace your modem. Call this number. They overnighted it out of New York by FedEx. And the only hitch was they had a email link to set up your new modem. The modem, the link was not working. So Charter had it, they call your technician, call a technician, that's another special number. Called him, he said they sent out 3 pings. He said your motor's gonna go on and off, on and off, on and off. And I went from 100 megabits per second to 350.
So you
You're
would
doing
be,
this, but he said, I talked to the technician, he said, Charter is sending these emails out, people are ignoring them. They think it's, for extra service. So he said, the point is, they're trying to help people, but a majority of the people are ignoring these emails. So we have to notify these people, it's legitimate, it's not a scam or,
that to me says if we invite this government representative for the company,
Right.
we said this is an opportunity to do what you're saying, to really promote those extra upgrades, those free services.
there's no charge.
Yeah.
And this guy spent 3 hours at the house replacing connectors, the wall after. He says, and he says the same thing, people are ignoring these emails.
And also promote the programming that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing and the opportunity.
So they, it's a thing where some people are ignoring it, and they're blaming Charter, it's not Charter, they're trying maybe. I took the advantage of it,
Yeah.
and I
No,
got,
but I want a
my
reason.
speed tripled.
I want a reason, Don, to invite him beyond the fact that we know that if we put an article in the paper, we're gonna have 5 or 8 people come in here. And as we did, I mean, it's over a year ago that we had people come in, and it's their right to say, this isn't working for me. And we have an internet advisory committee that can add to that
Yeah,
and so on.
like another thing he told me was, a lot of people, they complain about slow speeds for the internet. He says, they will give you an Ethernet cable, which you go from your modem, you plug it into your computer. You don't do the wireless, but you're losing about half your speed. By all, people are ignoring that. He says, we can get a HDMI cable, which is also comes out of the box. That's free. All you have to do is ask, they'll ship it to you.
Okay.
That's
Well,
something that people should
I'm
be-
convinced that there is a positive outcome for the
Right.
representative from the company if we can get that in.
Get that,
get that,
that mindset to the
organized.
people, they're trying to help, and the people are ignoring it.
My suggestion is that I will get what you said written down, I'm sure it'll be in the minutes, but I think in the February meeting, let's look at some dates. I'll respond to the original letter, which is in my pile here, and we're not gonna do anything before the end of February on this. We wanna get what the lawyer is doing for this, with the select board. That's where the decision's gonna be made. But there is a long list of things we're supposed to do to make sure that the community understands that this is happening. They need to have the opportunity to make a statement as a renewal process, not after a contract has been signed. But on the other hand, they need to understand that this is not going to change. We have a contract that unless it's a really nasty situation, we're gonna march forward like has happened in the past. So I'll send any thoughts you have on how we can state and how we can promote experience for the community with a representative of the company that gives us not just arrows, but at least some information. Don, you've been really articulate about.
Yeah.
They can tell you good things, so I think that's great. Okay, I want to talk tonight about programming. We started that. I think it was a really interesting conversation last month. And I think there's plenty of things that we could be focusing on that would raise the profile of community TV for the town. Because there's a lot of things people know. And right at the top of my list is the conversations about a need to do an override, or at least to increase the revenue coming into the town. I've seen articles, I'm continuing to get them, and I've talked with John and Valerie, and we can script a series of conversations that can begin to gather the information. We've been all, getting information, and see if you can help us with how best to do this. But there probably are other issues, and Renee, when we talked with John and Valerie about this, we all seemed that this was important to really look at programming. I'm looking for more ideas how we can communicate to the broad public that what they have here is a really important service. It's written so well in your statement. I mean, you just said it so clearly that I think it's, we have to come up with actual plans that use the equipment, that demonstrate the student interest, that isn't just our knowledge, but it's the vast world's knowledge, or at least.
Well, we still need a guide. People have no idea what's on there. We still need some kind of guide so people know what's on.
Okay.
I don't know whether it's a web page.
Well, that'll come with the new equipment.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna help. Right now, people don't have a clue what's on there. There used to be a guide when you hit one channel, like
Or
TV
Keith.
guide.
Now, whose responsibility would it be to do that? Valerie, is that yours?
I asked, there's something with a link, or the Keith has to do it, and I wrote to him a while back, and a while back before that, and.
John, talk
just
about that.
gets
How
full.
can we make that happen? I've heard that
The
request
link,
over.
there's something, the
So are we talking about,
reports or something.
are we talking about,
What Steve-
are we talking about the website or the
Programming,
TV
there used to be a
channel?
channel with all
On
the
your
programming.
TV?
Right.
Yeah, so that comes out of Worcester, and both of us numerous times over the years have requested to have a Westport. Even the weather says Worcester weather instead of Westport. And we've tried multiple times to get that change, and it just died wherever.
Is that a subject for when we invite the
Of course.
representative from the
Yeah.
company?
Yeah, that's,
Oh, yeah, that's been a problem.
Okay, then we need
That's-
to spell out, this is, when you come to visit and talk with us, we want to cover these areas, and that has to be clear. And I don't know the details, you know the details, so you're going to give us a really clear paragraph on what needs to be done and what we would be doing here to make it better for the public,
I think
right?
we can get that. I mean, it's a public meeting. I don't like to say the overall strategy. Their strategy is gonna be trying to sell more broadband out of this
Right.
meeting. So they're gonna give us some stuff that is not gonna go crazy. So I don't think a guide's out of the question. I think a difficult part will be getting the place service person at the building. Because at the end, they weren't getting anybody to do that, and right now, nobody's taking jobs. So they might weasel out of that. But I think we definitely need the guide. We need to push them whatever we need to do the
But,
program.
and this is not something that's for the new contract, this is something that happened now. And that's what I think makes a meeting with a representative of the company important,
Right.
because the things
Right,
we
well, they can do
now.
it with the upgrade like they're talking about in the spring.
Yeah.
Let's work it into it, let's get it done.
Yeah, okay.
It'll sell them more cable too, because don't forget, we get a summer population that comes in and gets their boxes, and they wanna know what's going on in town too. And indirectly, a lot of them help the town with projects, and as we try to do stuff with the schools or upgrades around town, people with money are in town to help us get it done. I know a summer person put in the AC at St. John's because they saw it, they needed it in the local paper. So the more we can get out, especially during the summer, about our needs, the more apt we are to get some help.
So I need all of you to write down, so we make sure, Sharon's gonna underline the things that you're emphasizing in the minutes, but we need to write down what we're gonna be asking for now, before the contract. That's the reason we wanna bring someone from the company here, to say, we don't wanna keep waiting for the future.
No, but I think Renee's
Yeah.
outline is really good.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Okay.
I don't remember the guide name, but all the other stuff is stuff I think that we should be pushing for.
yeah. I mean, we have had conversations in the renegotiations in Fall River about programming guides. It becomes a management thing for them because they're running cable operations all around. They have hubs. Getting the information specific to a town becomes very difficult to do. I don't think it's impossible to do. I think there are certainly some ways that we can self-promote our programming, our program guides. I'm sure your new server probably will generate a program guide of sorts that maybe you can actually even put on the channel that's, that says, coming up tonight you
scroll
know,
across the
or
bottom.
scroll across the bottom.
Yeah.
There's some ways that you can kind of, you know, help with that, and I think that might be worth looking into. But
these
I think the
ideas-
conversation about program guides are important.
These
I think-
ideas need to be written down. I know Sharon's doing her best to
Yeah.
get it all captured, but we need to do them as a checklist.
Right.
Not saying we're gonna double your time commitment to this, but maybe we're gonna add a little bit more. We have a few months this spring to help the community understand this, there's a positive thing going on with this renewal. And we want the community to get behind us. I don't wanna see the selectmen doing their diligence, getting this together, and 8 or 10 people coming to a meeting and saying, how can you do this to us? This is the worst punishment you've ever given to us, signing us on to this terrible thing. We have a few months now. If we can make some task lists, we can get these great ideas out together and work as a board to help John and Valerie however needed, to make things happen that are
Yep.
very visible in the community, that maybe we should have done a little earlier, maybe.
No, it's good now. The more, we're countering it. We have the town looking into internet, which is putting them on their toes. Like I said a meeting or two ago, Verizon's also come into town now doing broadband. They want to stay on the game. That's an extra push that's giving them incentive to work with us. So I'd say it could happen. I think the senior discount is something we always hear about. I don't have anything special. I have the phone with them, broadband and cable. I've got one extra tier with sports or something, and it's $260 a month.
It's going up.
Yeah, and so the seniors can't afford it. So they need to come up, help us out with some realistic program. Obviously, I don't want to jump all over the place, but obviously $260, they're getting their cut, so they want it as high as possible. So that's some of the things we should work on. Give us a senior citizen discount, that faded out. Can't we help them a little bit, especially with this economy? I think realistically, we should be able to squeak something out of them. Usually they do minimal, but anything we can get would be helpful.
All right, well, we've got great ideas, and now I think at our February meeting, before we would meet with somebody, we'll figure out a way to make a presentation about how can we do this now to show the public that you're serious, not next year or whenever, 10
Yeah.
years
You
from
can
now.
talk to Hewitt, but I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a punch list to the corporate, to the CEO, and saying, this is what we want.
Okay.
You know, can we discuss it in public?
Okay.
Give them a heads up, because we don't want them saying to everything we ask them, oh, I gotta go back and talk to so-and-so. We wanna get some answers. So
Right.
give them a heads up on a good
John has
problem.
bad experience with, call me
Yeah.
next month.
Yeah.
That just goes on forever.
So I think the punch list is good.
Great.
Hewitt will tell you what we should and shouldn't hit him with in advance, so he has to have
Yeah,
some surprises.
And I think if
I agree.
if we
I agree
use our
with Steve.
February meeting to really
Yep.
get this together, I
Yeah.
think that could be great. And I'm counting on all of you, because I think it's more than one person's ideas. We need, and I'm moving right down the agenda, folks, but we need a punch list, we need a to-do list about promotion too. We can do these things, but somebody's gonna have to either figure out whether it goes in the paper or it goes on social media, what it is. So I want you to start thinking about, if we're starting to reach out and say, these are the things we wanna see happening, not happen whenever, how are we gonna communicate that?
If you're thinking about programming ideas, just listening to the discussion, you know, maybe one of the first programming ideas we could do is to, I think advertise in some way, but a short program on how to use a cable TV and how to, you know, what's on it, where do you look, how do you get around, you know, for those of us who are in public life and use it to catch up on meetings and all that kind of stuff. But the idea of that the basketball games are posted, you can follow, you know, all
It's
of that.
really-
Where do you find it? Where do you look on your TV? What does it look like? I mean, the basic steps to carry people through is an idea, and then if we orient people to that, then the idea of getting feedback on, well, what would you like to see, and then how would we actually produce something? And I think looking at upcoming town meeting, the override issues, the whole idea of, I think, you know, we've had low taxes as the holy grail, but there's never a conversation about what the cost of low taxes are. And it isn't.
And we
It
have
isn't
people
for
in
free.
town that could lead a conversation amongst 4 or 5 people around a video camera that begins to say,
And that could be filmed, and that could open up, because we need to do that outreach. And then there's the whole climate change issues. We can see when we had this nor'easter and it pounded East Beach Road, you know, we're bound to have more of those, you know, what's the answer to those kinds of issues? So I think there are, you know, if we had an audience, then I think we could have some programming for that audience.
well, and because the whatever is created can be put on YouTube, we can have a big audience. It's not as though we have to just talk to 22 people in Westport who happen to have a free evening.
No, once it's
The
on
potential
YouTube,
is,
it's out there.
big. So we want your list, we want everybody's ideas, we're gonna pull it together, and next February, we're gonna have this list of what we need to do. Go ahead, do you have?
How do we get people in the, conduct a public hearing? To get people to come up, we had, was about a year ago, we had 2 people show up here.
Yeah, well, we had a few more, but
Yeah,
that's my question, that's why it's on the agenda, and clearly we can write articles in the paper, but I think what we're doing tonight is
Right.
saying these are
We
the
have to get-
reasons why we wanna bring somebody.
It's something like a town meeting almost,
Yeah.
about, you know, the cable contract.
But we
Somehow,
don't-
we gotta get people interested.
We don't wanna do that until we make
Right.
sure that the meeting has a positive component.
Right.
Because for you and me and the rest of us to sit in a room with 52 people all telling us how terrible things are would not be my idea of a good time.
No,
Because what can you say? I mean, if it's bad to you, it's bad, but for you, you made it really clear, it was good, it was a positive experience.
Right.
To be able to call up and say, I need, well, I don't even know what you said, but they did
they
a lot.
send an email, you know, and there's a special number to call. You call that number, they said, we'll set it up, we'll overnight it. They set
But
it
your
by
question
FedEx.
about how to promote that, Don,
Right.
that's the question that we have to
Well,
resolve.
no,
We
that's
don't
not-
have staff
But
writing
it's
all
the
this
people
stuff.
that are getting the notices that are ignoring it, that's the problem.
Yeah.
We have to say, you don't ignore an email, look at it, it's not junk email, it's from Charter, and they do want to help you out.
Yeah. Well,
You have to get that, stress that
If we have
point.
a good meeting and we record it, that's step one. But I think some of the other steps we can do, social
Right.
media, whatever.
I think that can be part of the, how do you use your local TV and, you know, Charter as the provider. If you get these kind of emails, don't ignore them, you know. If they think your system
Right.
needs to be upgraded, you know, respond to that. You know, and that can be part of the program of,
And I think your suggestion about how to use it, you know, people at Council on Aging are not talking about the basketball games at the high school. Maybe one that has a grandson, but the vast majority are looking at things that fit in their time frame. And basketball, a winning basketball game at the local high school does have some excitement to it once you know that it's something you can watch sitting on your couch and so on and so forth. So I think we
I think
can
the girls' team
help
is
people
undefeated.
use
They're
it better.
undefeated,
the
they are.
girls' team is undefeated.
I just put it on, I just linked it to my Westport page last week, because at first I wasn't sure, because if you look at the address, it looks like almost a pay-per-view when it was advertised, the basketball games I'm talking about. But last week's was good with the past vice principal, they did a good job on that game.
Yeah,
And
he's good.
And I linked that to my Westport page,
Good.
and a few, picked up some viewers. I only started off at 7, I think it went up to like 24.
The diehards were at the game probably.
Yeah, I mean,
so-
get the word out, the people who pay attention across the country, our
Good.
alumni and whatnot.
Good, good.
And-
I'm glad to hear that. You hear that?
Yeah.
Good.
And the how-to is how to link it, because again, there's people that don't know how to do that easily.
Yeah, we'll get on the page, we'll work on that.
And I think, Donald, just to end this subject, but I think what Donald said, I bet half the town's internet problems is because they have old modems, old routers.
Modems and old TV.
Everything's old.
Old.
By old, I mean 5 years old or more, so.
We can make that announcement next selectment meeting
Yeah.
too. Just put a blur.
You know,
We have this spring to take advantage of what is possible to make it better for people. And I think we have a responsibility as a board to do that. Because if all we're doing is sitting around waiting for people to complain and then saying, well, we're gonna continue, that isn't gonna make us any friends. So let's see what we can do in the next couple of months to do what I think the the proposal that was written did. It said very clearly, without this, people are not able to communicate as well as they need to. I'm gonna ask Renee to report on the internet advisory, because that's another window on what's happening. Anything happening there?
They're actually in the midst of doing an ascertainment with the town. They are trying to put together the concept of a municipal light plant whereby an entity will manage the fiber and the internet possibilities for the town. We're meeting tomorrow night to get some updates from the consultants, and I'll report back the next meeting on that.
you're trying to look like a
So-
system like Taunton has?
Yes, like
Taunton has the
Taunton,
municipal
yeah,
light,
Yeah.
they've had that for years.
yeah.
It doesn't sound like somebody.
They do it for light and power, but not
Yeah.
for internet.
In the next few weeks, it sounds like a project that's gonna take a couple of.
This is gonna take a long time. I mean, the actual build, I'm sure you've seen the trucks in town running the fiber, the main fiber lines to the municipal buildings. They ran fiber all the way down Main Road to the harbor master's shack there, so, and probably to the high school as well. I thought I saw trucks over there running fiber outside. So they're doing the main hub of it, and that's part of that
And that's
first
been paid
phase.
for.
That's been paid
The
for,
town's paid for that,
Yeah.
so that's great.
yeah.
Okay, we do need another, we could welcome another member to our committee, so I will say that out loud and encourage all of you to see if there's somebody who's just missing this opportunity, because it's a fantastic opportunity to be with you every month, and maybe a little more. Is there any questions for any of the things that we've been talking about? You've all had a chance to hear, but is there any comments you want to add?
I just wanted to bring up too about the issue with the Weather Channel. And I guess it has something to do with the hubs. We're getting the Worcester weather. I guess that, I haven't checked it recently, but at the beginning, we were getting complaints, and I guess people, the weather on the 8th, so they were showing the faraway weather. So I don't know if that's still something people
It's just like
want.
that little wiggle show Westport on the bottom every so often, the temperature and.
Oh,
what
it
the weather
does?
will be, but it's
With
not a
15
voice,
other
it's just a
times.
little printout.
Yeah, you gotta wait
Maybe
through.
every 3 hours it'll show up on the.
I think most people went to asking Siri or checking
Yeah.
on their computer,
Yeah.
they gave up on it.
So
I
it's
did.
not, it's
Yeah,
not an
same here.
issue anymore, really.
If there's an emergency in town, is the town government able to connect to?
There was a room set up at the fire station. We haven't checked the status on that lately, as Val knows.
Yeah, the status is that we had to take the lab vault because we had one, one failed at the town hall.
Okay,
So there's no emergency there now.
so we probably gotta
That
check
would be
that.
something.
Emergency
But-
override, yeah.
However, though, if something happened, I can live stream with a little portable box, so it's so much more
So
convenient.
there's a way of doing it now.
And
Yeah,
along
the people would just have to know to
What Bob
find
is
us though.
saying, helping people to how to use your cable. There's an emergency, because you watch the bigger news, the national, international news, there's a crisis every other half hour. So, we should be able to tell people in Westport, if there is a problem that you need to know about, we can live
You
stream
know,
it to you.
I noticed Charter, every so often you'll get the public alert thing there, but it'll be like from New Hampshire, Vermont,
Yeah.
on the local charter station in Westport. So they can do it. Because Charter's doing that alert, sending it over. But it's like, you know, western part of the state, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine.
Yeah, it happened with us before, but I don't remember the process, to be honest with you. Val might know. You have to call it in and they'll put it on like a ticker for us. They'll beep it in. But it has to be obviously a big emergency, so.
But that's an
Thank God it hasn't been too many.
That's an enhancement that I think we should at least explore.
Mm.
What, how
Yeah.
complicated is that? Okay.
You never had to do that yet, Val?
I
I
don't
know they
remember.
did it years ago.
Yeah.
It went across Westport, issued an alert. It might have been Bob that
Oh,
far back.
yeah.
It's been a while. So, Hurricane Bob. So,
Well, we have a long list that we have to put together. We have to make sure we know what we're gonna do, but it sounds like we're gonna have a busy February and March in getting this thing moving forward. So stay in touch. Let me know any more thoughts, and I appreciate it. Is there any other business? If not, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
first.
Did I
Make
get a
it- I'll
motion?
second. You're moving it, Don's moving it, I'm seconding it.
Well, I think we have a first and a second somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm in
All in
favor.
favor?